Welcome back to the Tide Jeremy Hanger. This is Mike. Today I want to talk to you about this Hasbro cutting 1,100 jobs, and they're in some trouble. And we're going to talk about this, discuss this. This is one of probably the worst things that a company's done right before Christmas. But I'm going to tell you why they did it. They're treating the people like they're a line item on a P&L, the variable cost. This might go down in history as one of the biggest PR nightmares, like the Exxon Valdez spill. It's not quite as bad as that spill, but PR-wise, it's killer. And Wall Street reacted. We're going to get into talking about all of this stuff, the finances, and the future guidance of Hasbro, and my thoughts. Coming up. So, earlier this year, Hasbro announced 800 job cuts, and they cited poor sales and all this kind of stuff. It is really short-sighted guidance by this company. They've been down for a couple of years, and they've been doing a lot of things. We're going to talk about what they've been doing trying to prop it up. But just like back in October, they announced, along with Hasbro, that the shares totaled after warning about holiday sales. They knew this was going to happen back in October, and they knew it because they've been dealing with it for all of 2023 and part of 2022, and yet they didn't react in time to fix the problems properly, but they're going to pay for it. They are going to pay for it. So they already cut 800 jobs, and now they're going to cut 1,100 jobs, and they knew sluggish toy sales are coming up. And what have they been doing all this time? Well, they've been more or less just trying to make their P&L look good. It's all about a P&L, it's profit and loss statement, and we're going to talk about that. So they've been dumping all this product on Ollie's and Ross and just basically clearing out all the excess. Not all of it's come from retailers. A lot of it comes from Hasbro too. And with that, you've got all this revenue coming in, this revenue streams coming in, even though they're selling it at a quarter of the price and even below their manufacturing cost in a lot of cases. And with that, they're still bringing in revenue, but I feel like they've kind of depleted the vast majority of their stock. And you look at Ollie's and Ross, and a lot of that stuff is starting to slow down. It's not showing up as often or frequently, and it's getting a little bit harder. So with the distribution channels, all the excess, not all, but a lot, has been cleared out, but now they got to go forward. This is all go-forward guidance. So they say they've laid off about 20% of its workforce, and they've already previously laid off 800, which is close to 20%. So about 40% of their workforce has been laid off already. And with that, that is a telltale sign of what's to come from Hasbro. Now, before we get into that, I want to say that Wall Street negatively reacted to this news. You would think, okay, greedy investors want to know that you're cutting costs. That feels good. But they're also saying, wait. Y'all aren't producing any sales. Y'all are down in sales. Which shouldn't be a surprise because pretty much most companies are struggling with the same thing. Not only that, but countries are struggling with the same thing. If you look at this a little before the 12th there, they took a dip because they announced this. And it came back because we had the Federal Reserve come out and announce that they're going to stop raising rates, and they're going to have 3 rate drops next year in 2024, and the market rallied. The thing is that if you're part of any of the indices, then you're going to go up along with the indexes. You're going to go up along with the Dow and all this kind of stuff because they are still part of the Dow or whatever they're part of. I haven't even looked into that because I don't look into that. I don't care. They will go up with the same index as long as there's buyers in there. So sort of this is mitigated by the fact that the Federal Reserve came out to kind of save their butt, but investors know there's problems. By the way, the real reason they're going to lower rates, and I've already spoke about this, is because they don't want to see $1.7 trillion spent on just interest alone, and they have to lower the rates before all of the longer-term debt rolls over. All right, so what exactly are they doing? Why are they cutting jobs? Why are they cutting 1,100 jobs? Why don't they cut in other places? Well, when you look at your P&L and you see the income and the gross sales, discounts, commissions, all that kind of stuff. So you got the income, your sales. Then you got variable costs. Variable costs are things like labor, and this is exactly what they're cutting: labor, raw materials. So they're going to cut raw materials. If they produce less product, then they're going to reduce the raw materials and their labor. So the cost of all this. And they're reducing it by what? 40%. So you got to say that product that's getting produced, stuff that you want to pre-order and things you're looking to get, is going to be reduced by 40%. I actually think it might be closer to 60% reduction. And that's why they're doing this, because they don't actually manufacture this stuff. They just place orders for it. So this is people that are designers and stuff that are going to design it and make this stuff. And then they're just going to place an order for it. So they still need some designers around, but they're going to make less products and they're going to make less of them. So let's put this as an example. Generally, they make like 100 to 130,000, and I've actually got proof of how much they produce from many, many years ago. They don't reveal this information anymore. But they're going to go from like 100 to 130,000 down to 60,000. That's going to make it harder for you to get your products. I mean, it sucks. It sucks for all these people laid off that are going to be looking for another job. But we are actually going to get into that here in a bit. Going a little bit lower, if you want to know what fixed costs are: sales, marketing, overhead, and all this kind of stuff. Manufacturing overhead, personnel costs. Fixed cost would be like your building, would be like Chris Cox's salary of $9 million, and the sad thing is, if he did his job right, he should have made $50 million, but he didn't do his job right. He made a lot of bad decisions. So when this news dropped, I wasn't surprised at all. 24 years of myself in the corporate world, the corporate environment, I already know how this stuff works, and an MBA. But Bobby Valla actually alluded to more job cuts to come, and Bobby has a lot to say. Now, a lot of people are going to say he's a salty ex-employee. Guess what? He is a little bit. He has a lot of right to be. He was laid off. He was in this exact same circumstance years ago. But what did he do? He took his severance package, and he used that money to start this Action Force, the Valaverse Action Force line. He bought the Action Force license, and he is now a rival to Hasbro, because anybody producing action figures at the 1/12 scale that are military line is a rival to the G.I. Joe Classified, no matter what you say. And I even own his weapons, because in the early days the weapon packs sucked. What they included with the figures were terrible, and Bobby Valla made real world weapons that looked a whole lot better, that displayed a lot better. So that's why I own his weapon packs, and they're pretty cool. But he did predict that more was to come, and it came. But he predicted that they would come in smaller increments. He did not predict this big of a chunk, and he definitely did not predict right before Christmas, 2 weeks before Christmas. And the thing is though, he does say Hasbro's a terrible company, doesn't care about their people. Well, this is proving every single word that Bobby Valla has said is absolutely true. One of the biggest missteps is what they did with the Wizard of the Coast and the tabletop games, the cards, and all that. I don't understand that whole market. Like, I do not understand spending $100 on some cards. I don't get it. But they made a lot of missteps there, and I can't speak to it very well. I've had friends that play this. My Photoshop, my shop guy that makes all of my pictures for me, explained it all to me, and it just kind of went in one ear and out the other. I was like, I really don't get why y'all are in an uproar over this stuff. But he does play D&D and a few other things. But basically, it has to do with licensing and licensing things out. That should be, I guess, sacred. But anyway, they made a lot of missteps here. I don't understand it, but obviously Chris Cox doesn't understand it either. What I do understand is closing off the packaging to your figures. And with this, there's a lot of collectors out there that are mint and package collectors. And there's YouTubers out there. Usual Mike Collector. He's a mint and package collector, and he usually does Star Wars stuff. He kind of switched to G.I. Joe Classified. And you can just see it written on his face when he has to look at his closed box figures. It's sad, because I'm there with him. I mean, I only open about 20% of my modern stuff. I'm about 85% into vintage anyway. But the modern stuff is a representation of vintage and all that kind of stuff. And looking at this really does hurt the line. If you're an opener, you want to see the figure that's in the package. You want to see the paint apps. This dark type of Hasbro trying to shave 12 cents off of each package just to be cheap had absolutely nothing to do with the environment. And we can prove it has nothing to do with the environment because they're bringing the plastic back. And I predicted it last 1 year. It lasted exactly a year, and now they're going back to plastic. But this is going to last forever. This damage to the industry. So you're talking 40 years of getting to see your figures. 1 year you don't get to see them, and then the rest of eternity to get to see your figures again. It's ridiculous. And it was to shave 12 cents. Maybe they shaved 8 cents a figure to do this. It's asinine, and we all have to pay for it for a long time. Now, a lot of people say, well, I don't collect for value and not in package, but this is a dark mark on a dark history of Hasbro. And they're bringing it back. I mean, we're going to see it with Marvel Legends, we're going to see it with G.I. Joe Classified, we're going to see it with Star Wars Black Series, which, I mean, they're not doing much with Star Wars Black Series. We're going to see it with pretty much everything. And the thing is because of down sales. And they were told by the fans from the day one. Everybody was in an uproar about this. Even the openers were upset once they realized they can't see the paint apps on their figures. Everybody was upset, and they still stuck to the guns. And now they say they're going to have some environmental friendly plastic. They could have done that in the first place. But I think it's a cop-out. Literally, they do not care about the environment. This was not about the environment. It's about saving money. Now, I've said this before, and I've said it a lot of times, and people get mad, but I've pre-order one of everything. If I can find it at retail a little cheaper, I find it retail a little cheaper. But I still pre-order it. I think this stuff that's coming in is going to be harder to get in the future. They're going to make it harder to get. Now, we have lost a lot of collectors, and I've talked about that in the past too, and that's going to be an issue that we all have to deal with. That there's less collectors, so there's less demand, so there's going to be less production. So it means your local Target and Walmart might not see some of these figures. They just might not show up. They're doing this full case pack, so maybe they're going to say one whole case will go to every Target and Walmart. So you got 6 figures showing up, an opportunity. But if a troop builder's in there, somebody's going to buy all 6 of that troop builder. So that's another problem that's coming in. And then I'm not buying these deluxe 60th anniversary figures. I'm just going to pass on them until I see them on clearance. But will this stuff be on clearance? Is clearance chicken going to be a much harder game to play in the future? I believe so. And I just want to say this. If Hasbro is continually mismanaged and goes bankrupt, it's a good thing for collectors. Because all the properties they're sitting on will go to other companies that actually care. Like Jada Toys, they care. And they fight for a price point. Obviously, Valaverse, he wants a lot more of the properties and the franchises if he can get his hands on the licenses. There's so much more all these other companies do. Ramen Toy, Super 7, just all of these other companies would do it. They could offer a lower price point if they could own the license and not have to pay a licensing fee. Kind of like Bobby Bala does here with this Action Force. But you also have to look at the fact that you look at, say, Jada Toys with their Street Fighter. They're putting those out for the same price as Hasbro, and they're doing a great job with those figures and their rival Hasbro. The only thing Hasbro has is the economies of scale because they've produced 100,000 figures. But now that they're reducing theirs, and they're going to be probably raising prices again, which is stupid, but they'll probably do it, they're going to lose that. And with that, these other smaller companies are going to have better advantage. So that is a bunch of nails in the coffin of Hasbro. So to wrap this up, I got to say, enjoy these sales while you can. Do your toy hunts. I got a toy hunt video coming from OKC area. And there's a lot of good stuff out there, but you're going to secure your pre-order for the stuff you really want. If you really want something, pre-order it, pay full price. Because the cuts are coming. And the cuts are coming strong and hard and serious. So we're gonna see this going forward, and it's not gonna let up. And it's at least 3 years of rough ability to get your toys. Anyway, let me know what you think about this in the comments below. Like and subscribe, and Tydirium Hanger out.